Marcel, the chief intelligence officer at the base, was assigned the task of collecting the debris from the crash site. His selection for the job, UFO proponents say, is proof that the Air Force knew from the start that this was something out of the ordinary. Marcel tells us what he found in that field.
None of the materials that we picked up weighed anything. Looked like it was weightless. You couldn't feel that you had anything in your hands. I found one piece of metal, what looked like metal anyway. It was not flexible, but it was as thin as a foil with a pack of cigarettes. It was that thin. One of my boys told me, he said, there's something unusual here. He said, I tried to make a dent in this metal, but he says, you can't bend it. You can't make a mark on it. He says, I took a sledgehammer and whammed it. I put it on the ground and whammed it. The sledgehammer bounced off of it.
When Major Marcel reported his findings to officials back at the base, they issued a startling press release. They had a flying saucer. The next day, Major Marcel was assigned to take the remains of the crashed objects to Wright Field in Ohio for further examination. However, the plane landed at Roswell Air Force Base in Fort Worth, Texas. General Alfred Ramey took one piece of the object off the plane and called a press conference. Then, Major Marcel was given different orders by Ramey. He was not to continue on to Wright Field.
He told me not to say anything. He says, I'll handle it from now on. And that's exactly what he did. When he came out, he told the press that was there, he said, that was nothing but a weather balloon, crashed weather balloon.
Marcel, under orders not to say what he believed, only recently spoke out against the Air Force's revised story.
It was definitely not a weather balloon. And it was an aircraft. So what it could have been, I wouldn't know. I still don't know.
Jesse Marcel, the 509's intelligence officer, went public with an appearance on American television.
I was amazed at what I saw. The amount of debris that was scattered over such an area. It took me a while to realize that there's something strange about it. But the more I saw the fragments, the more I realized that it wasn't anything that I was acquainted with. I proved by trying to burn it, it wouldn't burn. I tried to break it, it would not break. If it was something of ours, I'm sure there would be no reason to keep it under cover that long. If it's an aerial spacecraft, there's another reason why it would not ever been owned by anybody here until they found out more about it. I sensed that there was a cover-up someplace about this whole matter. They took pictures, of course. They had a whole flock of microphones there. They wanted they wanted some comments from me, but I wasn't at liberty to do that. So all I could do is keep my mouth shut. And General Ramey is the one who discussed, told the newspapers, the newsmen, what it was and to forget about it. It was nothing more than a weather observation balloon, of course, which we both knew differently.
Major Marcel had to keep silent because of his strategic position at that time. He was in charge of all security and intelligence on atomic tests in the United States and the Pacific. Marcel retraced his secret recovery operation across the hot New Mexico desert.
We left Roswell perhaps around 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. As you can see, it's flat. It is very difficult. In fact, with just verbal directions, we never would have found it. We had to follow the rancher out there.
The crash site was so remote, it took an entire day to drive there.
The following morning, we went out to the site where the crash was. And what I saw, I couldn't believe there was so much of it. It was scattered over such a vast area. So we proceeded to pick up as much of the debris as we could, loaded in a wagon. We filled that up. It took us a good part of the day to do that, because it was such small fragments that we had to do a lot of picking. We found a piece of metal about a 1.5 to 2 feet wide and about 2 or 3 feet long. Felt like you had nothing in your hands. It wasn't any thicker than the foil out of a pack of cigarettes. But the thing about that got me is that you couldn't even bend it, you couldn't bend it. Even with a sledgehammer would bounce off of it. So I knew that I had never seen anything like that before. And as of now, I don't know what it was.
One thing I was certain of, being familiar with all air activities, that it was not a weather balloon, nor an aircraft, nor a missile. It was something else of which we didn't know what it was. There were just fragments strewn all over the area, an area about 3/4 of a mile long and several hundred feet wide. So we proceeded to pick up the parts. A lot of it had a lot of little members with symbols that, to me, I call them hieroglyphics because I could not interpret them, could not be read. They were just like symbols of something that meant something. These little members could not be broken, could not be burned. I even tried to burn that. It would not burn. See, that stuff weighs nothing. It's not any thicker than tinfoil in a pack of cigarettes. He says, I tried to bend this stuff. He says, it will not bend. He says, we did all we could to bend it. It would not bend. He says, we even tried making a dent in it with a 16-pound sledgehammer. He says, still no dent in it. The newsmen saw very little of that material, a very small portion of it. And none of the important things, like these members that had these hieroglyphics or markings on. They wanted me to tell them about it, and I couldn't say anything. And when the general came in, he told me not to say anything, that he would handle it.
My father had been called out to investigate what I thought was an aircraft accident some distance from here on a ranch close by. And he came back much later one evening, about maybe 2 o'clock in the morning, with a car full of debris, like metallic debris. Mm-hmm. And he was very excited about it. He unloaded a good part of this debris into the house here, into the kitchen part. And he woke my mother and myself up to come look at this, because he had no idea what this was. Material that it consisted of was more foil-like, although it was a very strong, very tough material. Material that was not easily malleable, not like tin foil that you could just bend back and forth. Parts of it looked like balsa wood type members, but metal-like balsa wood. Very light and very strong. And it had a sort of metallic glint to it, like a dull aluminum surface. I guess the most mind-boggling or startling feature was along the inner surface of some of these members was like a writing. The writing itself was not English numerals or the Greek alphabet or anything of that nature. It looked more like an Egyptian hieroglyphic type writing. The lettering itself was, I recall, the color was of purplish violet hue, and it looked like it was embossed inside the inner surface of some of the metallic members, the structural frame itself. I recall the longest piece I found was about 18 inches in length, and maybe a half-inch. It's like an I-beam, about a half-inch in circumference or diameter. I think he came to the conclusion that this was probably not anything that was made here, at least on this planet.